Welcome to my Nightbringer Aphelios guide. This comp is very flexible and can be played in multiple ways, so in this video I will be breaking down the build and its different variations, what items you need to make, how to build the early, mid, and late game, and then we finish off going over some in-depth positioning. The build is extremely flexible. The only thing Aphelios needs is 2 Nightbringers and 2 Rangers, but in almost all my games I have these 5 core units. Kindred provides survivability to your Aphelios, and she is also a Mystic Ranger. Darius armor shreds with this ability, and he's also a Nightbringer. Morgana provides AoE CC, and is a Nightbringer Mystic. Diana provides backline axes, and is also a Nightbringer. The remaining 3 units will depend a lot on what you hit and what you need in your current lobby, but I often find myself ending up with this board at level 8. Here we put in Ryze, Nautilus, and Rel. Ryze provides great CC and helps keep Aphelios alive if he gets jumped by an assassin. Nautilus does provide a bit of CC, and he's also an Ironclad Knight. Rel provides great shielding, and she is a great anti-assassin unit. Some other units you can very easily fit in is Lulu for 4 Mystics, Jax for 3 Ironclad, or Viego for 2 Assassins and some more backline axes. And you can also fit in Volibear Ivern for great CC frontline. One thing I will note here is that you almost never want to go for 4 Rangers. This might seem surprising to you as Aphelios is a Ranger himself, but the reason is you have to run 2 bad units to get the 4 Ranger buff in. Ashe, Varus, and Vayne are not going to do anything late game, so we would much rather play other stronger units instead. If this was a bit confusing to you or you are a newer player, I recommend you just stick to this version until you get more comfortable with the comp, and I will go more into detail on which variation you want to run in the late game part of the video. Aphelios is our main carry, so we prioritize making items for him first. He has one core item, and that is Deathblade, or Shadow Deathblade. Both of these work fine. This item scales incredibly well with Aphelios' ultimate and the Nightbringer trait. It also allows us to win almost every front-to-back fight. The next item you want to build is Ginsu's Rageblade, and you never want to build Shadow Ginsu unless you have Bloodthirster as the 3rd item. This item allows us to scale with the Deathblade into the fight. The longer the fight lasts, the higher our odds of winning are. If you can't build Ginsu, then Shadow RFC or RFC can work to give him more attack speed, or you go for another damage item. The last item wants to be either Runon's Hurricane, Shadow Runon's Hurricane, or Bloodthirster. Shadow Bloodthirster is a bad item as you don't get the defensive part of the item, so only build Shadow BT if you have Shadow Ginsu on Aphelios. Hurricane is generally the strongest 3rd item to go for as it synergizes extremely well with Deathblade and it also uses less contested components to build it. The times you go for Bloodthirster is when the lobby has a lot of backline damage. BT allows us to heal up from that damage in addition to giving us the defensive shield. Other 3 items that can work are Giant Slayer or Shadow Giant Slayer depending on how tanky the lobby is, and IE or Hand of Justice can work as well. The reason we don't have a traditional defensive item on Aphelios like GA, Trapclaw, or QSS is because we already have a lot of defensive utility in our team. Rel provides shielding, Kindred and Nightbringer Shield allows us to not get one-shot, and you can always position around assassins. Other items that are great in this comp are Morello or Shadow Morello on Morgana or Volibear, Frozen Heart or Shadow Frozen Heart on Diana, Spear of Sojin on Kindred or Ryze, and GA on Morgana as you can solo frontline her to make sure she stuns as many people as possible. Besides those, any tank items you build want to go in your strongest 2-star tank, which will be Rel or Darius in most cases. The carousel priority for this comp is Sword, Bow, Rod, then Tier. Since this comp revolves mostly around 3, 4, and 5 cost units, we can play any opener we want to and then just transition into Aphelios late game. Some of the best openers for this comp is 3 Skirmisher with Udyr as the item holder for Aphelios, Hellions with either Ziggs or Kled as the item holder, Callista with either 3 Abomination or 3 Redeemed, and Vayne with at least 3 Forgotten can also work. Once you've found your comp, we need to make items, and as a general rule, you want to make an item if you have at least 4 or more components. Some items that are good early game and that transition well into Aphelios late game are Rageblade, any Bramblevest, any Declaw, Frozen Heart, Shadow Frozen Heart if you have an assassin to make it on, Hand of Justice, any Morello, and any Thieves' Gloves. Deathblade, Runons, and BT are not very flexible items, but you want to slam them early if you're hard forcing Aphelios. Your early game strategy will depend a lot on how good your opener and your items are. In some games you will play for a loss streak, and in some games you will play for a win streak. If you want to learn more about how to play the early game, check out my guide where I go in depth on the subject, link in the description. At the Krugs round, you should have more direction towards a comp. The general requirements to play Aphelios from this spot is to have at least one component for Rageblade and one component for Deathblade. The units we have don't really matter as we find most of them at level 7 and 8 anyways. During the mid game, you always hold Aphelios if you find them, and you want to hold other units as well if you don't lose eco for holding them. If you are weak in the mid game, typically around 70 to 60 HP and loss streaking, you can roll at level 6 to stabilize. We do this to make sure we have enough HP to be able to go level 8 later in the game. How much you roll down depends on how strong the lobby is, but try not to go below 20 gold. And some good boards to stabilize with in the mid game for this comp are 4 Legionnaires with either Riven, Yasuo or Callista as the main carry, 2 Rangers with either Ashe or Varus as the carry, frontline can be anything here from Knights, Brawlers or Redeemed, 5 Hellion with Ziggs or Kled as the carry, Riven carry with at least 2 Legionnaires and 2 Dawmbringers, and 6 Skirmishers with Nidalee as the item holder. Another option, if you are weak in the mid game, is to not roll at level 6 and instead do a level 7 all-in. This is where you hard focus on economy, and then you level to 7 on 3-5 and roll to 0. You are primarily looking to stabilize off an Aphelios 1-star and then build a board around him. A typical level 7 board looks something like this. I want to add here that this is a risky strategy that I do not recommend until you have gotten more comfortable with the comp, as you need to roll down fast and you also need to be very flexible with the units you decide to pick up. During the mid game, you also want to scout. You want to look at the other players' items, units, synergies, and what comp they're going for. With this information, we can optimize our late game board. Like I mentioned in the build part of the video, this comp is extremely flexible, so by scouting, we can get information on how good Mystics, Ironclad, and Knights will be, as well as getting information on what the third item for Aphelios wants to be. Aphelios can support 2 to 3 players at max, so if you see more than that going for it, consider pivoting to another comp like Draven or Kayle. On stage 4-1, you want to be level 7. From here, you need to decide whether or not you're rolling at 7 or going to do a fast 8. Since this comp uses 5 cost units like Kindred and Darius, we always want to roll at 8 whenever possible. But in some games, we're not healthy or rich enough to do so. Therefore, you want to roll at 7 if you are 80 to 60 HP or lower and also loss streaking. Or if you are just really low on money, typically 50 gold or less after leveling to 7. If a lot of other people are rolling down here, you might need to roll as well, as you will take a lot more damage when the average enemy board is stronger. When rolling at level 7, you want to stabilize off Aphelios 1-star, and much like on 3-5, you want to stabilize with a board that looks something like this. The goal from there is to go level 8 on 5-1 and then roll for your final comp, so try not to roll below 10 to 20 gold as we need the money to roll at level 8. You want to fast 8 from stage 4-1 if you are 70 to 80 HP or higher and you won most of the rounds in the mid game. Again, this depends on how many other people are rolling and how much money you have. The goal when fast 8ing is to level and roll down on stage 4-5. So if you don't have at least 30 gold or more when rolling there, you might have to roll a bit on 7 and then just go 8 on stage 5-1 instead. Before you roll down at level 8, it is very important that you know which units you're looking for. Like I mentioned in the mid game part of the video, scouting is crucial to understand which units you need to tech in. The most basic ones to understand is Mystic is good versus ability power, Ironclad is good versus attack damage, and Knights are good against consistent DPS. If you see that there are a lot of vulnerable backline carries, you can add in Viego for 2 assassins, and you can also steal an important enemy carry. Ivern and Volibear are great to add in if a lot of the enemy teams are clumping up. Teemo can sometimes be teched in at level 9 if you need to counter an enemy Aphelios or Draven, as he slows their attack speed. Ryze and Lulu are great anti-assassin units as they will CC the closest targets, so have them close to Aphelios if you're running them. Taric is a great unit if there's not a lot of anti-heal or burst damage in the lobby. Rel is a great anti-assassin unit as she shields the farthest away ally. You could also position her to stun the enemy backline with assassin positioning. Once you roll at level 8 and hit your comp, you have 2 different options. Option 1 is to roll for Aphelios 3-star. This is definitely the 1st or 8th kind of play as it is very risky, therefore I only do this if I have 5 to 6 Aphelioses or more after my first level 8 rolldown. I am uncontested and I also have enough HP to do a second rolldown. The second option is to go level 9. In most cases, this will require you to be relatively healthy and also have 2-star to every non-legendary unit. The more HP and gold you have, the less 2-stars you generally need. Going level 9 is what I will do the vast majority of the time, as there are so many units this comp wants to play. In addition, it's a lot easier to counter the other players when you can more easily fit in Mystics or Ironclad. If you're high rolling, the most capped version of this board looks like this. It is very expensive and you will only hit this in a few of your games. First, I will go over general positioning with this comp, then I will go over some in-depth examples. General positioning looks like this. We have Aphelios in the corner to keep him safe, Kindred is next to him as her ultimate will stop Aphelios from dying. Rise is also next to Aphelios as he will CC the closest targets. So for example, an enemy Viego will get interrupted and can't steal any of our units. Diana wants to be positioned wherever she can ult the most enemy carries. Rel wants to be farthest away from Aphelios to make sure he gets the shield. You also want people to wrap around Rel to make sure she gets the most CC value possible. Morgana wants to be in the front line between two different units to not take too much damage. This way, the stun from her ultimate will go through more often. Same story with Darius, keeping him alive is crucial as he shreds armor with a spell, so letting him ult multiple times in a fight is huge for Aphelios. Nautilus is on the outskirts to protect our Darius. Now let's move on to some in-depth positioning examples. Against the first guy, the big threats are Ziggs and Kennen. Rise is in the corner to get stunned by Kennen after he ults. Rel is on the right side to shield Aphelios and Kindred. Nautilus is getting targeted by Ziggs to make sure Morgana and Darius can ult. Diana is jumping on Ziggs. Aphelios is a bit to the right of Kindred to make sure he doesn't get stunned by Zyra, but is still in range of Kindred's shield. Against the second guy, the big threat is Karma. The general strategy when positioning against Karma comps is to spread out. This is because her targeting is random and deals splash damage. We have Aphelios all the way in the right corner to keep him safe. We have Kindred next to him, but she's keeping a 1 hex distance so that Karma can't hit them both with one shot. Same logic with Rise. Diana wants to jump Karma. Nautilus is stunning the other Nautilus and preventing him from targeting our Rel. Our Rel is dead center, so she shields either Diana or Aphelios, depending on where exactly Diana lands. When Rel is in the middle, she also gets to shield all 4 enemy frontliners. Morgana is far right, so she gets thrown away by Syndra. Darius is on the same side as Aphelios to make sure he armor shreds the units Aphelios is targeting. Against the third guy, the big threat is Aphelios, Viego, and Diana. Wolf is getting Sephired, Diana is jumping to the enemy Aphelios, Nautilus is getting targeted by Viego and Diana, Rise is close to Aphelios, but also close to Nautilus so that he stuns Diana and Viego. Kindred and Aphelios want to be on the opposite side of the enemy assassins. Rel is positioned so that she either stuns the enemy Aphelios by targeting Diana, or she stuns Viego and Diana by targeting our Nautilus. Darius is positioned to target the enemy Rel. This way, he shreds armor of whoever Aphelios is targeting. Morgana is in the middle to make sure that our Diana doesn't get targeted right away. Against the fourth guy, the big threat is Vel'Koz. We always want Aphelios on the same side as Vel'Koz, and Kindred is next to him. Diana is jumping Vel'Koz. Rise is on the opposite side as he will walk closer to the middle and get targeted by Vel'Koz's spell before Aphelios. Morgana is making sure the enemy Rel doesn't stun too much of our frontline. Our Rel is shielding Aphelios or Diana. Nautilus is in the middle to get more stun value, and to also get targeted by Vel'Koz. And Darius is on the same side as Aphelios once again. Thank you so much for watching. If you learned something, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Comment down below what video you want me to make next. And if you want to get better at TFT, join the Discord. We got over 2,000 other players there who are hungry to climb. And if you want to get coached by me, the information is over on the Discord server as well. So take care and see you in the next video.